All right. Lee Pro 6000 6-pack. For the most part, I really like this press. It's high praise coming from me. You know? As much as I ripped into that Lyman. Do I have any quibbles? Oh, yeah. But they're pretty minor. So, once again, high praise. Biggest problem? Imagine this. Priming system. Yeah. I got it all set up for 9mm. Ran around, did dummy rounds, and it's pretty good. I hadn't quite broken it in though, so that's causing some little issues. Like I said, run 400 or 500 rounds through it, and should start working better. Add some powdered graphite, and dress down any burrs that might be there from manufacture, that kind of thing. It's doing better. So, teething stuff. Oh yeah, back to where I was headed with this. What happened was, after all that, I added primers. All bets were off. It promptly heading for live rounds on the second pull of the handle. The priming system failed spectacularly. The spring, which seems that was still a silver spring, so it hadn't got that upgrade to the gold. These are two different part numbers. This is the same as on the APP, and this one is different, but it was the same. We ran through the other parts that have been upgraded, and they all seem to be good to go. So I guess this part's been upgraded, that's been upgraded. There's this piece here underneath has been upgraded. There's some other things too. So yeah, it's since its inception. Check with Lee. You may have some parts coming. I guess this has been upgraded even, which this bugs me that this thing fouls here and even here on press head. I also had a monster time getting this out of there. I thought I was going to break it. It took me a few days of my butt was puckering. I thought I was going to break something trying to get that out. I had to go underneath and pry on these little teeny tiny ears to compress them a little bit to get it to. And it still took excessive force the first couple of times. But yeah, I'll get there. You know me. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. It's related, at least. At least it's related. But anyway, yeah. I expanded. I went to see the primer. The powder charger was here at the time, which I've learned. I read a post that suggested it, and I think it's a good idea. Move the powder charge here so that any drops don't go straight into the priming system and gum up the works. Plus, you could, you got a few port, possibly, or something else. But at that point, this spring, let's see if I can find the old one. Oh, there it is. It was attached here, hanging like this. Yeah, no priming. No working. So I found out it had multi-fed primers on the second pull of the handle. I don't get it. It was the first time I'd added primers to this press. Period. Also, what happens is it takes a primer and it shoves it in the front. I don't know if you can see. Maybe I should have pull the shell plate. The finger here goes beyond the priming stem into a little, it's shaped just like it. Well, there's a primer in there, so this can't go in any further. And there's another primer, and yeah, I think there were 3 primers. I don't know how. Insane. And then what happened was the end of this finger, so it jammed up against the priming pin. It cocked it up, boogered the end, and where these plastic fingers hold that, they were stressed. You can see a stress mark in the old one. So they sent me new spring, new slider, new finger. They sent me a new ring here. But oddly enough, you look on their site and this has been upgraded, but they didn't send me that. But they said what it is a thicker bar to make it agitate more. I forgot to ask the dimensions of that bar, the rod here. That what told me. Silly me. But yeah. See how this has got 2 different, or the same end. Same as this. This has a small end here, the gold, and a larger end here. So it's not as much movement here. Whether there's a different spring rate or length or anything, I don't know. These springs are $5 a pop. If you're stocking up on these, you're stocking up for your APP if you have one. So at least, you know, there's double duty, but this one is different. But yeah, it catastrophic. So then I had to wait for parts, and I filmed this, and then I'm like, well, let me, you know, show the new parts anyway. So yeah, gold is best. I hope. So far, it's better anyway than silver, and yeah. Unless you're the Lone Ranger. And we know that whole silver bullet casting around the campfire is pure BS. Can't be done. Random. Yeah. So far it's working better, but sometimes it will flip primers here or here. You gotta get your speed right, or else things happen all the way around. You know, don't try to go too fast. And emptying this it was not well thought out. There should be some kind of evacuation gate or something. All they had to do was, well, the safety primer, you've got the dispenser down here to stop it, so no problem. Here, it's just wide open and flowing. The only thing that stops it is this slider. But as soon as you lift this up, if you don't block it soon enough, you know, they're just jettisoning. You're playing primer pickup. Let's face it. They would put some kind of little stop button slider here, or a little gate that folds down over the front, you know, flips down. Problem would be solved. But they didn't do that. Meanwhile, you gotta do that, or you have to remove this. Blech. There's just a little hole here to pull that, but then you got this spring, and you know, it's no fun getting that disconnected. And then you got to fish them out the end. And there's a little stop here, so this doesn't go too far, that you got to get them over and around. Even if there was somehow to make like a big hole that large primers would fit further back, in a way to you know, extend this, like a little flip lever or something, that, you know, instead of being a hard point here, so that this would come back far enough to slide them out into a cup. You know, there's a few ways it could have been done, but, you know, they weren't. My thought is, I mean, the last few primers don't come out anyway. One, they should have made this a little taller so that this cleared. 1/4 inch probably would have done it. A little stop of some kind, so that was easy, because even if you shut this off, there's still, what, 10, 12 primers in here? Probably, because you're not going to use them all most of the time. You usually either mangle some cases somehow, or you just didn't have enough to begin with. And who counts out exactly how many primers they're going to need? Sure, there's probably some, but I'm thinking vast minority. Vast minority. But yeah, that's my biggest gripe. It's kind of easy to get out of timing, but they're like, oh, that's kind of break-in stuff and getting the speed right, because yeah, if you try to rush it too much or go too slow, it will like half or quarter step. You get it right, it advances pretty good. But you get a little powder in there, tolerances are pretty tight. It doesn't take much, and your hand advancing it, and it's gritty, and you pull a shell plate, and there's not much powder in there, and it's still binding. So tolerance is pretty tight. Other thing is, like that primer getting in there. I told them they should have an evacuation hole for it to drop down into. Well, right here, I taped over it, but there's a little hole here. They got speed holes in the space for whatever reason. Are there future attachments? Well, I don't know. How much weight you're going to lose taking a little bit of aluminum out. But if you put a little catch cup in there and a little, chute for when they get back there, that they drop in there, problem solved. Because unless you can finagle it to bring it out like so, you're poking a pointy bit down in there trying to fish out a primer onto here to get it up without mangling it. Yeah, you can't always do it, so you're pulling the shell plate and, disassembling all the rounds, and yeah, can't paint the butt. But if it would just evacuate out here, do a little catch cup, you just keep going. Well, potentially. Ooh, I'll say potentially. What else was there? I think there were 3 gripes I had about this, and the rest were minor. I mean, it's like, yeah, levelable, modifiable, non-warranty breaking modification, those kinds of things. Non-permanent, or, you replace the part with something else so that you have the factory part. What was it? Why can't I think of it? Oh, one thing is, like, there's not a lot you can do, but this, is wide open, and cases sometimes bounce enough to either come off the side or tip forward. And, well, this is kind of a T here, so you could clip, somebody make up little walls that clip here that this would run inside of. It would only cover like 1 inch or so. Up to, it would have to clear here, but it would give it just that little bit extra guidance. Because by that point, it's stabilized and good, but just that little space, it can move, either slide off the side or tip in, or base first. It all happens. Minor stuff, but it happens more often than I'd like to see. Vibration, just I set this as low as possible. So, highest is their penny trick. So there's, thickness of a penny above this in the case mouth. I think it's actually a little less. And the other thing has to do with, finish round ejection. And that's really what this video is about. Roundabout way to get there, but, hey. That's another video I don't have to make, right? Here's the thing. Short as this is, I mean, you can get right up on the press, which is nice. This thing tends to eject with some vigor, and the chute is right at the edge here. And they tend to shoot out, well, the rotation, it shoots out towards the right. Tend to bounce off here, but sometimes they will right over the side. Or right over the end. Yeah. Now, so I see gift card mod for the end here, which really helps. I take 2 of them, hot glue them, and clamp them so it stays thin. And you trim it. Yeah, is it going to fit in this one? Fits in all my other ones real well. Yeah. Maybe this one's slightly different. I haven't tried in this one, obviously. But, you know, a little wall there. Fill it up higher. But couple little things. Here's a cost-cutting thing, I think. This rail that it sits on. All right, you got a little nub here so it doesn't slide and interfere here. But this isn't as wide as this, and there's no nub. And what I found during setup was that vibration, this thing would walk. And it got about halfway. Yeah, like, whoa. You know, that can happen with all your rounds in it. You know, I was just about to say, you get some, you know, bullets in there, a little weight off it goes. So, 1/4 inch wider with a nub there would have prevented all that possibility. So, what I did was I modded things, of course. Of course, I'm replacing that bin, therefore there's no warranty issues. I have some of the green bins, which are, you know, longer. That helps with shooting over the end. You can't get quite as close. It's, what, a couple inches longer. Put the gift cards in there and your volume is increased. Yeah, they fit right in these. I mean, that's an opening. You can fill up quite a few more before you run into overflow issues. That's not the one I modded. Here's the one I modded. All right, first thing, I did a few things. Wasn't happy the first few times, and eventually got it right. My first was to move it kind of right next to this. So, 1/8 inch hole around this pin, and I got it about there, and it moves over a little bit. Helps a little bit. Then I decided, well, let's move this inside, and I got it wrong. But by the time I got it right, it's there. But the problem was, well, this intrudes, and you can damage rounds. What to do? Well, as you can see, I took a piece of PVC. Like a 20 gauge hull would be really good to be a little smaller. A thinner wall, because I had to thin this out. But now, you know, it's blocked off. Everything's safe. It'd take a lot for a round to get in there, really. And, oh, you can see. Okay, the edge of this is just right of center versus right at the edge. So there's a lot less, oh, too far, locking on there. There's a lot less potential for the rounds to jump over the end. I just hot glued it in there. Now, I probably should have shortened it up a little bit because I had to bevel it so that this nut clears. And one thing you run into is the linkages down here interfere. It's not terrible, but I just ground away and then hot glued it in. Not really necessary, but you know, there's a lot less at the stroke it barely moves. If it's loaded down, I mean, there really isn't. There's one part of it towards the top of the stroke where it moves this side because it's not in very far. But that's, you know, maximum flex. Probably not going to let it get that far because this is plastic. But yeah, I couldn't find, I got some 20 gauge holes around here somewhere, but I don't know where they are. That'd be probably the best bet. Easy to get. Really thin wall. It fit inside here instead. So it snug right up to this corner. I wouldn't have to deal with any of the clearance issues. But anyway. Whoop, yeah. Index. That's pretty much it. Priming system, Lee said, put some powdered graphite under here so it slides better. That was their big recommendation. And run a bunch of rounds through it. Now I'm used to, like, start out with the Turret Classic. That thing pretty much just ran out of the box because the only thing running around is the tool head. You know? Tool head, you know. The die plate. But anyway, being first progressive, I'm not familiar with all the ins and outs yet. But yeah, 6 holes, overkill, just the way I like it. Room for specialty dies if I need them, or rearranging. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much everything only has 4 dies that I'm using, so, you know, like typical, but if I need to throw in a collet neck sizing die real quick, boom. No need to, you know, pull another die or anything else. You know, little things like that can really go a long way at times. For 223 at one point I was running 2 or 3 specialty dies, and I paired them back over time, figuring out what worked best. But at different points in time, they made sense until they didn't, you know. But yet sometimes still have to use them. Just, you know, you booger up a case mouth a little bit, collet neck size it, re-expand it, yeah, load it, put her in the plinking pile. You know, little things like that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that is pretty much all the complaining I can really do about this so far. Which I think is pretty minimal because, like I said, except for the priming system, that was the only big problem I've had with it. The other ones are either live with, not too hard to live with, or, you know, work around it. Modifications. And non-permanent, warranty voiding modifications are the best kind. You know, fully reversible. Wait till warranty's up before you start doing the the permanent stuff, like the no primer LED mod where you got to drill the base and stuff like that, which I think could be actually a non-permanent. Yeah, that's right. Check it out. Let me bring this here. Right here. For whatever reason, there's a hole. And under here is flat. The LED could be mounted under there. Either, you know, with an adapter, battery, it doesn't matter because it all moves. And underneath, leading into here, you can see this. there's an opening in the base. All they'd have to do is, a little plastic light guide, maybe even something that wraps right around it, so that the light is all around it, shining up through, and then it would be integrated. It wouldn't be, we could do it. Just a factory add-on where, here you do it. Here's the instructions. One screw, off to the races. Third parties? I know, I can't remember. The ones who do all the light strips, they're supposed to release a lighting kit for this. Like in March or something, they're claiming. Specific for the press. They should make that an option too. Because it's hard to trust the priming system because of the problems I've had. And if I could see, oh, there's light or there's not light coming up through there, it would be very nice. Alright, well, that's pretty much it. Wow, this video is far longer than I thought. I don't think I can edit that much out. I'll leave you with that. Have a good one. God bless. See you.